Hey. Welcome back. Here we are again, episode 11.
We almost didn't make it in, actually, because Eli couldn't get it together.
No. Okay. I bet you he was trying to count us in, and he kept forgetting his thumb was up. He kept counting that as an extra digit. So it took us like an extra 5 minutes to figure this out. But we're here now. Don't ding me. It happened. I'm not wrong.
Look, just because we're calling you out doesn't mean you get to ding us, okay?
We'll revoke your bell rights, doctor. But as always, here we are, continuing our baseball coverage. I am Gina, one half of your dynamic sports education specialists. And over to my right is Amy. Hello, my friend.
Hello.
Are you ready?
As I'll ever be.
This one is not as exciting as the Cheech and Scandals one, but I think it's such an important episode because of the fact that there are so many other people who go into making an actual baseball game happen.
Right. And so, like, today we're talking about the non-player clubhouse, which, by the way, we still have to introduce Dr. Eli over there.
I didn't forget about you.
Hi.
I didn't forget about you.
Did you guys forget the name of the show?
I was getting there.
Oh, okay. All right.
Are you gonna wait? Don't you mute your mic. Now that you've opened your mouth, you gotta do it. Ha! All right.
So today on
Wait. What? Sports. Ooh. Surround sound.
is non-player clubhouse personnel.
Yes.
So those are all the people that are in what's called the, quote, clubhouse.
So what is
in
the
baseball.
clubhouse? Is there a player clubhouse and a non-player clubhouse?
So the clubhouse is the complex around the locker rooms.
Okay.
The practice facilities, the batting cages, all of that area is the clubhouse.
Okay, because I literally wrote that down.
The owners are not considered to be part of the clubhouse. The office people are not considered to be part of the clubhouse.
Okay.
Because that's administration.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right?
So they're not the ones that are actually down, I guess, for lack of a better word, in the trenches.
Right.
Got it.
So the clubhouse is more like being that trenches type of thing.
You're getting your hands dirty.
You're working one-on-one with the players every day.
Got it.
You are maybe doing the strategy depending on your job. You're there in that complex of areas where the players are training and meeting and talking and, you know, maybe the actual locker room where they're changing their clothes.
Got it. Okay.
Along with, I actually have one more that I just thought of that I didn't put in here that maybe you need to write down so that we don't forget about talking about them. But it also includes all of like the medical personnel, the athletic trainers, and all of that. Because I didn't even think about the fact, all the ice baths and everything else.
Right.
So these are. I feel almost like we're doing like Sesame Street, like, these are the people in your neighborhood, in your neighborhood, in your neighborhood. And Eli dinged us, but he also immediately did a face slap. So,
because he was singing it behind his hand.
So these are all the people in your clubhouse.
Yes. Okay, cool.
So I have a list of them here. I gave you a list of them.
Yes.
I'm going to let you choose which one you want to talk about first.
Well, y'all, on the last episode, you guys got me so excited. I know it's kind of out of order of what we think we should talk about, but the equipment manager seems to be like the unsung hero, as it were, of the clubhouse.
They are. The equipment managers, and it's not just a particular, like, one person. Equipment manager is a position and title.
Right.
But he has an entire crew underneath him.
So, okay, I'm going to defer. I'm about to ask him. So, Dr. Robinson, when we were in college, we went to the Bowling Green State University in Bowling Green, Ohio. You spent a whole semester working with the equipment manager.
Right.
Give us a quick synopsis of, like, what his daily role was to the team. Because did he just do baseball?
No, he did hockey as well.
Okay, so go ahead.
So the responsibilities of the equipment manager is to basically get the players prepared, for their games as far as the equipment, like bats, jerseys, mitts. If a mitt needs to be actually repaired, he does that.
Really?
Also, if there's a home game, then he has to take care of the away locker room as well. Like put like soap and order like food and everything for both teams.
Huh.
And so that's definitely on the college level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the professional level, they may actually even have somebody who oversees the away team's locker room.
Right.
Yeah.
You have the equipment manager is kind of like the boss
The head
of all
but
of these
also
other people.
Got it.
to take actually prepare the away locker room, the equipment manager also does that. Like their assistant equipment manager would do that as well.
Okay.
Right. So like like I said, it's kind of like in any major company, you've got different divisions, different departments.
Mm-hmm.
The equipment is a department.
Yeah.
And they've got a manager of that department.
Right.
And then within that department, there's other people who are maybe managers of sub-departments.
Right. Also,
So, like, your laundry people will
Yeah.
be under the equipment
Manager.
department.
right.
Okay.
And the laundry will actually be taken care of on a professional level by the assistant equipment manager. So, say for instance, jerseys, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the Indians are wearing white jerseys that if they're away,
Right.
if they're wearing their blue or gray jerseys, he has to coordinate with the other team's equipment manager to see what they're wearing.
So you don't have like two gray
Right.
uniforms on the field.
Right.
So they coordinate with the opposite team for like their uniforms and stuff, and then they, but that person is not necessarily the person who's actually physically doing the laundry. They're just making sure the laundry gets done.
Right.
So then you actually have a team of people under them that are collecting the uniforms after the game, making sure they get done, making sure the uniforms get back in the right locker cubbies.
Right.
Yeah.
Making sure that, the day of the game, the players tend to come in and all of their stuff is already laid out. So
Right.
they pull out what uniform they're supposed to wear, which is why it's always so strange to me when there's like a uniform gaff. Because I'm like, wait, did somebody not lay out the right pieces of uniform for you?
Or maybe something was like not repaired in time for
so it's always weird to me when like somebody's wearing the wrong
color.
colored uniform
Yeah.
or the wrong
Somebody missed the memo.
right or whatever, because you're like,
That's not right.
They should have all been laid out for you without you having to worry about it.
Because if you think about it, like when you see it on TV or something, like they're interviewing people before a game, like everybody's stuff is in pristine condition, ready to rock.
Right.
And so after the game, they change out and they throw everything into a hamper and it gets taken away and washed.
Right. I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but as far as the equipment manager, when I was doing, helping out the equipment manager, he told me that, he can be there from 5 a.m. to like 7 at night or until after the game. So it's
It's a lot to coordinate.
And that's the thing is that he's coordinating all of these other people who have specific jobs with specific equipment.
Right.
So there are people who are specifically there to take care of the bats, as we talked about in the last episode, with the cheating. We just said, the uniforms and the laundry. Like, there is some guy that's literally just in charge of the socks.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
There's somebody who's...
And the decals on the actual helmets. Like,
who's in charge of cleaning the helmets. So
Right.
they actually clean, like, if you have somebody who does use tar on their bat and you have the sticky residue, there's somebody that cleans that.
Right.
That job has to suck.
But it's some pros to that job because it's free merchandise.
Right. You get all sorts of things. There are all sorts of perks.
Yeah.
You can get tickets for your family at a cheap price and all sorts of stuff. The Bat Boys and Bat Girls kind of fall under this as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so they tie together.
So the Bat Boy / Bat Girls are, they sit on the sidelines of the games along the third and first baseline, and literally their job is to pick up the bats when the batter. One of their jobs is to pick up the bats as the batters are doing their thing. The other thing that they do is if there is a foul ball,
right,
and it's been called foul, and it's gotten too much in the dirt, they collect those.
Okay.
There's all sorts of nuances to it.
Also,
I noticed.
If you see on TV when the umpire is asking for another ball,
They have
that's
to-
the Bat Boy, the Bat Girl's job to actually
run out with the
run
new ball.
a new ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like how in tennis they've got the ball people that stand in the back of the court,
Yeah.
and
They come darting out there.
they come darting out and they hand a ball and then they run away.
Yeah.
So same idea.
I gotta pay more attention. Like I knew they were there, but at the same time, like
they actually
you
travel with the team as well.
Yeah, they do.
Do the equipment-
If they are grown ups,
I was gonna ask that.
occasionally,
Yeah.
home games,
You get
a
an
lot of times
honorary.
you will have teenagers that are doing the ball and bat stuff on the sidelines.
Okay.
Sometimes, especially if it's like, a charity thing, the announcers will say something at the beginning of the game. They actually do get their names announced at the beginning of the game. If you're in the stadium, they tell
cool.
you who the ball boy and the bat girl are and stuff. So,
okay. I've heard them say like the honorary bat boy for the game is blah blah
Right.
blah blah blah.
But as far as the people that are like running out the balls,
Yeah.
So
those are
yeah.
truly employees because a non-employee can't touch the ball.
Got it. Okay.
So I'm looking at the salaries of the equipment manager and the assistant, the clubhouse manager. You wouldn't call him an equipment manager in baseball, clubhouse manager.
Oh, okay.
The assistant clubhouse manager will make an annual salary of $41,000 a year.
It's not bad.
The clubhouse manager, I believe he makes $52,000 a year.
Which isn't bad.
Right.
There, under all of that, again, there is actually a guy who's literally in charge of mudding the ball.
Okay, what is mudding the ball? We talked about it, but reminder.
So, mudding the ball. Baseballs, while on TV, they look white.
Yes.
When they're actually played, they are not pure white. They are not pure balls from the factory.
Has an off color.
Because that ball is hard to see when it's hurtling at you at 95 miles per hour or more.
Got it.
So there is a special mud, and this is where I said I was going to talk about a Discovery Channel show.
Yes.
There is an episode of Dirty Jobs
love
where Mike
that
Rowe
show.
goes out and actually harvests the special mud and then works with the ball boys to mud the balls.
Wow.
And they literally have to mud a certain number of balls for every game. And they're only allowed to do it so many hours before the game, and each team has to bring so many balls with them.
Oh, so it's not all on the home team to supply everything.
Well, no, because then it's not equal.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of like how you don't trust the Patriots to supply all their own footballs. I'm sorry, did I say that?
Oh,
You said that out loud.
I freaking love it.
Did I say that, Tom Brady?
Anyways.
Anyways.
Haters.
Anyways, yeah. So you bring a lot of your own equipment with you when you're on the road too.
Yeah.
And that's why they leave for spring training with 4 truckloads worth of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've
Because they're
seen them.
taking everything with them. To spring
Makes
training.
sense. So it's almost like they're taking like the whole clubhouse equipment
So
room with them.
So basically, the middle of January, they pack up the truck
from the hangars all the way down to the laundry soap. Okay.
Yeah.
So when they travel like during the season, do the clubhouse managers go with the teams, or do they just send like their staff?
They send a representative.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
They
like
send
one of their
staff.
staff
Right.
members. So like they have a staff member that is literally for the away
The
games.
road person.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's actually a checklist that the staff member needs to remember and everything and whatnot.
So like if they've got away games,
Mm-hmm.
say Tribe's playing now at home.
Right.
I don't know if they are or not, but say they are.
Mm-hmm.
If they've got an away game in the next couple of days, the person in charge of making sure everything that they need goes with them may already be packing in the middle of this game.
Oh,
Right.
I can
Yeah.
see
So
that.
they're packing the away uniforms.
Yep.
They're packing the socks. And they will take both colors with them, or however many colors, or if it's the throwback uniform weekend, they'll
Right.
take those, or if it's the pink patch weekend, they'll take those.
I'm glad you said that, because when I was working with the Indians back in 2011 as an intern, I witnessed that. I mean, after like the last game of a 3-game series, I saw the clubhouse manager and assistants putting everything in like a bin. And just shipping it out and, getting it ready to go to, Hopkins or wherever they fly out.
First off, we have to work on your memory.
He's done so many different things. Like,
Secondly, if you think about like the largest suitcase you've ever seen, multiply it by 10.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've ever been over at my house when my friend is in from out of state, but he has to travel with all the electronic equipment for his job.
Right.
So he actually has like military grade cases that he travels with, and they're giant.
Right.
And they've got like 7 inches of foam on them,
Mm-hmm.
all around them. Take that, which is about the size of half of one of these tables in this room. And these aren't big tables, by the way, guys. They're only about 5 feet long.
Right.
Okay. The cases that you will have for equipment managing are probably about the size of 2 of these tables put side to side and just as tall. Because they're loading up a whole case with nothing but the bats.
Right. Right.
They're loading up a whole case with, nothing but the uniforms.
Exactly.
And they want to make sure that they're in kind of non-breakable packaging.
Yeah.
Because while they're probably on a chartered flight, you're still on a flight.
Exactly. So anything can happen.
And if you're someplace closer, like if we're going up to Detroit, they may take a bus. Generally speaking, I'm thinking they're still flying.
Yeah.
But if it's bad weather, they may switch from a plane to a bus.
And their stuff might actually just travel road versus the players flying. So
Right.
if it's a close game.
If it's a close game, yeah. So you want to make sure everything's packed up, and they pack things up. Like I said, they've already taken all of the variants of the uniforms that they need.
It makes me wonder, like, how far in advance, like, the clubhouse manager has to know, like, who makes the decision on what uniforms are being worn that day?
So usually, as he said, like they're in contact with the home team to find out what uniforms the home team's wearing.
Okay.
But there are certain weekends that are marked out by Major League Baseball as far as throwback uniforms or like the special pink days where they'll have pink socks and pink everything. Like I think the last game I caught on TV a few weeks ago was Mother's Day, so it was all pink. They had pink helmets and pink socks and pink gloves and like
I saw that and I was like,
Reds were actually in pink pinstripe, and I was like, why are they in pink pinstripe?
I saw all the pink and I was like, it's not October.
That was actually one of my first thoughts too, and then I was like, oh, it's Mother's Day.
Duh.
So this series with the I'm sorry, not the Minnesota Twins, but the Detroit Tigers. Mm-hmm. It was like a military
military appreciation.
They had the hats and everything.
They had all camo, and so
got it.
On weekends that they already know that are laid out by MLB. It's kind of like when you watch football; they know in advance which weekends they're doing what.
Right.
And if you don't have a game during that designated time, that they are doing that for every team, they may be looking at you and going, okay, so we're going to have this set be your version of this.
Okay.
Although in baseball, they basically say like this 2-week stretch is going to be Wear Pink Week,
Right.
And that way every team has had a game in there someplace.
There's so many uniforms.
But they have a lot of variants in baseball because they actually, I think every team now has like 2 throwbacks. At least, because they've been doing the throwbacks for so long.
Yeah.
And unlike football, they don't sit there and go, you can only have one version of your throwback.
Correct.
So baseball has more variants. And it's because baseball's been around for so long.
Forever.
And we'll get into an actual history of baseball at some point, but that's another one that will take like 47 episodes just in and of itself. So, because the history of baseball is very convoluted.
It sounds like it.
Those are the things that, like, that's the basics of the equipment.
He does
department.
a lot.
The equipment department is huge. And like I said, if you get a chance, watch the Dirty Jobs episode.
I'm going to see if I can find it.
One last thing about the equipment manager. Whenever the team actually wins a championship, he gets a ring too. So when I was a equipment manager, doing my practicum with Scooter at Bowling Green, I saw his Mid-American Championship rings. He had about 15 of them.
Wow.
Well, and on the professional level, most of the people working for the organization will get a ring of some sort.
Right. I know my friend Scott Baker, who worked with the Kansas City Royals when they won the World Series in 2012 or 2015.
Yeah.
One of those years. He showed me his ring, and he got a ring for just being with the organization.
Similar to, most of the time, the owners are quite generous when they win that. As we know here in Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
When the Cavs won, Dan Gilbert was especially generous with that, whereas he
Yep.
gave rings to everybody who worked in the stadium.
My mom got one.
Everybody who worked
Yep.
in the queue got a ring.
Mm-hmm.
And your mom worked at one of the restaurants.
Yeah. She was a
So
hostess.
it wasn't like, you know, she had anything to do with the actual team.
Yeah,
Right.
Everybody
But
got a
Dan
ring.
Gilbert was like, everybody gets a ring.
Yeah.
Everybody.
You get a ring and you get a... Sorry, you know it's coming. You get a ring.
But it wasn't even like it was a ring, you know, replica. They
No.
literally got the same ring compared to like sometimes the owners will buy the replica rings that anybody else could buy out there
Right.
for support staff. Most of the time the owners are very generous on that and they get exactly the same rings as the players.
Mm-hmm.
So, not usually as generous as Dan Gilbert because
Right.
normally it's not the people working in the restaurants, but everybody in the clubhouse,
Right.
everybody who's part of the administration gets a ring.
Hey, kids, there's your... You don't always have to be a player.
You don't. You just have to know enough. I mean, you could be the head of marketing and get a ring.
Right. Facts.
So, which, by the way, marketing is not covered in the clubhouse.
That's the administrative people. So, okay, so now we got the equipment manager. Like I said, I just want to talk about him, that group of people. I want to say him because of his experience, Dr. Eli's experience, but that group of people seems so vital. So now we can roll into like the actual on the field non-player personnel, which of course is going to be, is the general manager the head coach?
Yeah, so
We can get into that first.
the head coach, which would be a head coach in like football.
Yeah.
Right. He's the manager or the skipper.
The skipper.
I don't know why they have a nautical term for it. But maybe Eli does.
Right.
But most of the time he's known as either the manager or the skipper.
I'm going to look in. Go ahead and research that. Why is he called the skipper?
So, and maybe that's more of a local Cleveland term. I don't know, but
It very
I hear
well
it a
could be.
lot. But you know, and maybe it's because we're on the Great Lakes and whatever that we hear
I was
this
just
a lot
thinking that.
between us and Detroit and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is the main man.
Okay.
You know, Hargrove was my favorite. I know it was Eli's favorite.
So, I got a definition here. Why are MLB managers called skipper? Because it's like they are steering a boat.
Oh,
Well, I guess
figured.
I suppose so, because you know, I'm assuming that a team is almost as hard to steer as a sailing ship. If we go that route,
Right.
You know, so like I said, Hargrove was my favorite manager. I know that it was Eli's. He told me that before.
Yeah, and Dusty Baker is my favorite as well.
Outside of the Indians.
Well, yeah, and I like
organization.
Tito Francona too. He's
Yeah.
a pretty good manager.
Yeah, Francona. I always forget his name for some reason. I'm like, I know we've had another couple of.
Francona's in there.
I know we've had a couple of skippers since Hargrove, and I can't remember any of their names.
Yeah,
Was that when they stopped showing baseball on TV all the time?
Well,
Yes.
There you go.
I can actually name the skippers after Hargrove. It was Charlie Manuel.
I do remember Charlie. Yeah.
Let's see. Up until Charlie Manuel, crap.
I feel like I should be fact checking
Eric
now.
Wedge.
Eric Wedge. Yes, I do remember
Then
Eric
it was
Wedge.
Manny Acta. Well, terrible.
He was very brief.
Yeah, he was terrible. He lost 100 games.
He was very brief. We
Yeah.
don't even talk about that.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the ACTA era.
Yeah.
No.
Moving
no,
on.
no.
And then it was Tito Francona.
And for whatever reason, I can never remember. Like I'm like, I know that he's got a nickname, but I can't remember what his nickname is.
Did you know?
Is Tito his nickname?
Mhm.
Yes.
Because I've only ever heard them refer to him as Terry.
Yeah,
It's short
Tito.
for yeah.
Tito was also his father,
Yeah.
and his father played for the Indians.
Right.
Oh,
Did
okay.
Yeah,
you
in the
know,
80s.
Did you know Terry Francona actually played with Michael Jordan when he went to baseball?
No.
Yeah, when Jordan was in baseball in
Yeah.
the minor leagues, he
yeah,
played
he
with
was a
Terry.
teammate.
No.
Yeah, he was a teammate of
Mhm.
Michael Jordan.
I had no idea.
So, anyways, getting away from that,
Ding.
the manager or the skipper is the one who is calling the shots as far as like, is it time to replace a pitcher?
Yeah.
Is it time to go out and talk to the mound? Is it time, what kind of pitches do you want to see thrown?
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one who's in the dugout doing the Macarena.
Getting jiggy with it.
I mean,
I
you
deserve
know,
that bell.
when he brushes the shoulder off a couple of times and then touches the top of his head, they all mean something.
Right.
And sometimes they're universal, but other times it's particular to the team. It's just kind of like the same way there are universal calls in football, and then there are other times where there aren't, and you never know, what it actually means when, Peyton Manning is yelling out Omaha. Although we know now what it is, but
Right.
we didn't necessarily when he started screaming out Omaha all the time. You can watch a coach and kind of learn what the different things are if you really, really, really pay attention. But they're never shown often enough on TV. You would have to be at the stadium every day watching just the manager.
I know one hand signal that's actually seen on TV is this when he points out to the bullpen.
Yeah, so usually each manager has their own way of pointing to the bullpen.
Yeah.
And it's a signal out to the players on the field that they are getting people ready in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that way the players on the field and the coaches on the field will know that they know that something is going to be changing soon.
Okay.
So they don't maybe necessarily freak out as much about, the pitcher not doing quite as well for this inning because they know somebody's already got on it and got somebody prepared.
Gotcha. Okay. Is he the one that actually comes up with the lineup for the batters too?
Yes.
Okay.
He comes up with the batting lineup. He comes up with the lineup for the pitchers as well. I shouldn't say he is the one that finalizes that. So usually the pitching coach actually gives him suggestions.
They'll have meetings,
before.
but he's the one who officially puts that in to the official record of the game.
Okay, so he gives the final, this is perfect for this game.
He's the person whose name is signed at the bottom of that piece of paper.
And that's why managers exchange lineups before the game.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they actually have to turn in their paperwork
Yeah.
Usually the day before. If it's a night game, it might be that morning.
Yeah.
And there's, a certain window of time they have for people that are on the undecided list and things like that, or who are on the injured list to be called back and things like that.
Yeah, I didn't know that they had to tell the other team what they were doing. I mean, I guess it makes sense.
That's
so that
because
Well, they basically
can prepare.
scouting reports.
Yeah, they have to turn in paperwork actually to MLB, which then exchanges the paperwork and blah blah blah. So there's actually an MLB official there.
Okay.
So it's not like one head coach going up to the other head coach and they're just changing papers.
Like, here's my kids for the game.
Which the official is normally the crew chief of the umpires.
Umpires, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
we didn't put them on the list.
well, because they're not employed by the clubhouse.
That's true. They're employed by MLB.
Yes, they are MLB employees. They
Okay.
are on the field.
Got it.
So then you heard me mention the base coaches.
Yes.
So you've got a first base coach and a third base coach. They have various things as part of their job. One of them, as we were talking about, is watching the dugout for the signals.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're the home team and you're along first base line, your third base coach is watching for the signals.
Makes sense.
And then he'll signal back. You'll be watching them have a dance-off. Tell me you don't ever think this, Eli.
No.
You never thought this even when you were like a small child.
No.
That is hilarious.
I used to watch with my grandfather, and I was like,
Why they
What
having
are
a
they
dance
doing?
battle?
but he'll signal back sometimes.
Oh, shoot.
He makes sure the other players have seen the signals. Sometimes the signal is about like what's going to happen. So like if you've got a man on first and a man on second,
Yeah.
he's signaling out to tell,
Right.
him to tell him either to stay or run, depending on what's going on, or he'll signal out and maybe you'll see the third base coach signal to the runner on second, like take a big lead off or no or whatever.
Right.
Or if it's a sacrifice fly.
Right. So if they know they're going to do a sac fly.
Yeah.
Yes, sacrifice fly, also known as sack fly, if you're listening.
Sorry.
So we have to, I just want people to get the terms that they're going to hear at
the actual game,
or if they're watching on TV. So the sack fly, they'll let the players know to have that heads up. Again,
so baseball is very nonverbal. It's a whole lot of
it's a whole lot of hand signals, and that's why the whole Astros thing was weird because they were signal stealing.
Yeah.
So, because we also are in the pitchers and catchers, show, we talked about how the catchers have different hand signals for different things and all that. So that's actually one of the other things is that, sometimes the catcher will be watching the dugout, but usually more in their line of sight are the base coaches.
So they're watching the base coaches who communicate with them.
So if you're in an away game, your first base coach is going to have all those responsibilities because then you're on the third baseline as the away team.
Okay.
And that's how it's set up in most major league parks.
The majority?
The majority. Occasionally it's the other way around, but the majority of them are set up that way.
Okay.
So those coaches, that's the majority of their job is to tell people to, come and go.
Are they like the middleman?
They are. They also do work with either infield or outfield players as well.
Okay.
For some of the coaching. But their in-game responsibilities, that's what those are. There are outfield coaches and infield coaches and sub-coaches, just like, in
Position
football.
specific.
Quick question. Do you know who's our first base coach?
I have no clue right now.
Sandy Alomar Jr.
See, I should have known that. But again, I don't get to see any of the games.
That's right. Oh, sorry.
So I don't
no. Can't keep up like that.
I'm like, is it still Sandy? I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's still Sandy.
Like that in my head, I was thinking that. I was like, is it still Sandy? Actually, he's been in the talk for a general manager position for quite some time.
For the Indians?
He was last time around,
Guardians?
too.
Well, actually, yeah.
Does Francona want to retire?
Well, no, last time around, it was talked about because he has such a great rapport with players and everything because he was a player.
Yeah.
They brought in Francona. He has been shortlisted several times for other teams, but I think he wants to stay in Cleveland.
I can see
That's
that.
been kind of the rumor.
I would
definitely
love Sandy taking over the team after Tito retires.
Yeah, and he's done it when Tito's been
out.
sick.
Yeah, healthcare.
With his health issues.
He just recently had one, didn't he?
Yeah.
So he just had COVID.
That's it. I knew there was some reason why he hadn't been
actually,
there.
more than half the coaching staff just had COVID.
Jeez
they actually had to
Louise.
cancel a bunch of games because of COVID.
Yeah.
So they had a whole series that they had to cancel because of COVID.
Wow.
The White Sox series.
So, like I said, it's kind of like football as well, that there are more position-specific coaches because just like football has, the offensive line coach, or the offense coach, then you have the offensive line coach, the running backs coach, the quarterback coach, every position has their own coach. Same thing for baseball. You've got an outfield coach, an infield coach, and then you've got people that specifically work with your center fielder and your left fielder and whatever.
Right, your shortstop.
Then there's consultants.
And you've got batting coaches and stuff to help your players do their bats and figure out what's wrong with the mechanics of their bats and all of that. I didn't really put them in here, although I probably should have, only because they don't really have an on-the-field presence. You don't see as much of them, and you don't hear as much about them unless somebody has had a really hard time struggling with their batting.
Yeah.
And then you'll hear about the batting coaches or the guys, helping them out at the batting cages. And then you may even hear about the sports psychologists that they bring in and things like that.
Oh, it gets deep.
It does. It really does.
Then they have hitting consultants like outfield consultants like Kenny Lofton came in one time and he was a consultant, working with the outfielders or
so he's not a full coach, but he's coming in to do like a clinic or two.
Right.
Got it.
Kind of like how our newest kicker for the Browns met with Phil Dawson to pick his brain and get
on how
help
to kick in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like which flag to watch, because there's a very particular one that Phil has always pointed out is like that's the one you have to watch if you're a kicker in Cleveland.
To determine wind and all that stuff. So are most of these coaches, even the general manager, have they been players at some point?
Yes.
Usually,
most of them have.
I will say probably about 90% of them.
Yep.
Okay, I figured.
Have been a player on a major league level.
Okay.
There's probably another 5% that were players at minor league or college level.
Okay.
That maybe went to school specifically to become coaches, because you can actually take a line of studies to be
It's
a coach.
called athletic administration / coaching.
Really? It's like a degree?
Right. It's a master's degree.
It's a master's degree program after you do like your sports education or something like that.
Wow.
OU has one of the top programs as far as masters in athletic administration.
That's cool. I didn't know that there was an actual degree to be able to become a head coach.
That's why I majored in sports management, because I wanted to be a coach.
Yeah, so like if you're doing like sports education, you're probably headed more towards the coaching, or possibly even that might be your first step towards doing athletic training / physical therapy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you're doing sports management compared to sports education, you are definitely wanting to be in either the office or you want to be a coach.
Okay.
So you either want to coach or you want to be an administrator in that head office where you're doing the scouting reports and all of that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So many routes to take.
There are. And after you do sports education or sports management, you can take a master's degree level for coaching. Although a lot of times, especially in baseball, you wind up with the players, and sometimes it's been a while, I think, since there's been a player coach. Yeah. Maybe the 90s, 80s, 90s was the last time there was a player
Frank Robinson
coach.
was a player's coach with the Indians back in the 70s. Actually.
Right.
Was that the last time we had one?
Pete Rose was one in the 80s.
Okay.
He was a player manager for the Reds.
Got it.
In fact, he was a player manager for the Reds for 3 years, and then he became their manager, and then the scandal happened.
Right.
Sometimes you wind up with players that are so good and they're at the end of their career and they know they want to become managers, that they become a player manager. Sometimes they immediately get slotted into the manager position, to the skipper position. Usually they're getting slotted into a base coach position or a pitcher's coach position, which is one that we haven't gotten to. The pitching coaches specifically work with the pitchers.
Right.
I will say they probably also work with the catchers, because usually pitchers and catchers are together.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my assumption is, I haven't looked that closely into it, is that you've got the pitching coach, and then under the pitching coach is the catcher's coach.
Got it. And they are like probably
they work in
tandem.
tandem.
Yeah, they got to coordinate together.
They work in tandem.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense just because they are so intricately linked together.
Right. And then along with all the strength and conditioning guys and all that you know,
right.
and as I said, the athletic trainers, which goes in with the strength and conditioning guys as well. So you've got all these support staff that are in the background making sure that the players are well taken care of, that they are conditioning themselves correctly.
Right.
I don't know that it happens as often nowadays as it did in the 90s and early 2000s and even before, where a guy will come back from the off season and be like 100 pounds overweight. Yeah.
That was a thing?
Yes.
How do you let yourself go that fast?
Well, because it was like golf. At one point in time, baseball players were not seen as being very athletic. If you remember what Jim Thome looked like.
And you look at Babe Ruth.
And Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
I mean, and I love Jim Thome, but he was not necessarily the most fit, trim, athletic person you've ever seen.
True.
If you look at some of the pitchers,
they're
not. You know, their arms are great, but they're not the most athletic.
They're not the picture of health
person you've ever seen.
Right.
Okay.
When you think athlete, you don't think that.
Right. So players would get done, especially if they had gone postseason, and they might just go, "That's it. I'm not doing anything for the next 3 months."
Wow.
And they would sit around and, you know, just be family guys.
Right.
Yeah.
And chill and eat. And,
Well, and, you know, hang out with their kids. And
right. Maybe go on vacation.
Be a dad.
Also,
Dad bod.
Also, some of the players go down to the Dominican Republic and just, you know, play like, you know,
Dominican
winter
League,
leagues,
winter leagues, yeah.
leagues
They
and
let them
everything.
play?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's where they go. Like, it's, I mean, honestly, Brittany Griner, you know, she's in jail in Russia right now because she was playing in their off-season league.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing goes for baseball players.
Oh.
There are leagues you can play in off-season, and it will help keep you in shape and stuff.
Right.
But, you know, like I said, a lot of the big-name players, like, they would just get done with the season and...
Wipe their hands of it.
And honestly, you see it in every sport.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why people will look at Tom Brady and are like, why didn't you come back like 300 pounds? Because a lot of times, like, you win a Super Bowl and you go and you party.
Right.
You know? And especially since he's got like 4 or 5 kids. And, you know, but then his wife is Giselle, so I don't know, you know.
Can you really
But
let yourself go
anyways-
with so much? Like, she's not having that.
Actually, she said she would be happy for him to have a dad bod. But anyways,
All right, Giselle.
she wants him to quit playing.
Yeah, she's over. She's over it.
She's over it.
He's not. She is.
But, you know, it was very routine back in the day for players to come back, especially your pitchers,
Yeah.
completely out of shape.
And I mean, if you think about it, I don't want to say pitchers aren't an athletic position, but they just aren't as mobile as other people on the field.
And all I'm going to say is CC Sabathia. Because, I mean, Bartolo Colon, yes, they weren't basketball player bodies.
Yeah.
Like, if LeBron James came back after offseason and looked like Bartolo Colon,
You'd be like, is he sick? What happened?
you'd be like, dude, put down the Twinkie.
Right.
So
Say no to the Oreo.
So, I mean, that's the thing is that, like, you know, they're not overly athletic anyways, like we were talking about with golf,
Right.
but it's changed. And they do have strength and conditioning coaches. They have people making sure that they are, you know, running laps so that they
Right.
can run the bases
Right.
and not get winded.
Because I will say, that's exhausting to run bases. You don't realize how far those bases are apart until you have to sprint all 3.
Well, and not only that,
Or
but
just
then,
sprint from one to the other.
if you ever noticed, the guys that steal bases are not the big guys. They're not the
No.
power hitters.
No, they're the little people.
Yeah. Omar Vizquel, not a power hitter.
Yeah, he was.
He stole
yeah.
bases.
Yep.
Kenny Lofton, not a
Not
power
a
hitter.
They're tiny guys.
Stole lots of bases.
Yeah.
Jim Thome, out of the park at least once a game, never stole a base, never attempted it.
Huh? He was like, that's not what I do.
Nope. He's like, I hit it far enough that I can jog from base to base.
You got to know your weaknesses. Know your strengths and your weaknesses. He was like, running is not one. I'm not going to do that.
Probably why he was also an infielder.
I can get down with that.
He played third base and first base.
And
He didn't play the bases in between where you had to do a lot of movement.
Right?
I can respect that.
Much respect.
So, you know, you've got all those people in the background. I think, I don't know. I can't think of any. Is there anybody else that you had questions about? Gee.
Nope. Well, we didn't talk about the grounds crew.
Grounds crew. Very
because,
important.
again, unsung heroes of Major League, of baseball in general. Well,
I cheer those guys when they come on the field.
most
First
people do.
off,
I
most of the
noticed that.
time, they love their job and they like to have fun. So, I know I'm old. I just admit that right away. I'm old compared to these two, okay? And they will make fun of me for it. But back in 97, for my graduation for high school, my mom got us tickets to a game.
Mm-hmm.
I made my mom sit through. Now, they would never do this long of a rain delay now unless it was late in the season.
Yeah.
Okay. But I made her sit through a 3.5 hour rain delay. Okay. My mom was like, we gotta go. I mean, they're not gonna play. It's been like 2.5 hours. They're not. I was like, no, ma, they're gonna play. They're gonna play. Okay. But the grounds crew, you know, rolled everything out. Actually, they rolled everything out twice because they rolled it out and it cleared up and they started to get everything ready and then it started to pour again, so they had to roll it back out again.
there were a couple of grounds crew members that decided to use the tarp as a giant slip and slide. I think at some point in time, like somebody in the levels was like, we're starting to lose the fans. We need to do something to entertain these people.
Are you kidding me?
And, some of like the 20-year-old grounds crewmen were out there using the giant tarp as a giant slip and slide because it was just covered in water.
No.
It was hilarious. I loved it. It was fun.
On the side note, I would have left you. Find a payphone. Call me when you finally decide that they're not going to play today.
No, my mom was like, "Amy, we got to go. And we were in the upper bleachers. So
yeah. Oh gosh. So then you got to get down and out. Yeah. No, we're going home.
No, we stayed. Well, we stayed, and like half the stadium emptied out. So we like wound up getting closer because half the stadium had emptied out.
Nice.
And my mom was like, "Well, maybe it was a good idea that we stayed because when we left, like there was not as much traffic." But I was just like, "Ma, we got to stay." I was like, "I don't know when I'm going to get to another game."
Yeah.
Because the last game we had gone to was when they were closing the old stadium.
Oh, so you really just couldn't win for losing on that.
Yeah. So we never had money for it. And my dad had won a family 5-pack of tickets.
So we're like, we're staying as long until they tell us we got to get out.
Right, to the Old Municipal Stadium for like the last set of games they had at Old Municipal Stadium.
Wow.
And I wasn't really into baseball at that point because we still had a football team. I was really into football.
Yeah.
But then, I was just like, by the time I was graduated from high school, 3 years later, we didn't have a football team. I had been watching baseball. We were, in those years where we were, running for the pennant, we were, bound for the World Series.
Right.
And I was like, Ma, I don't know when we're going to get to see a game again.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't.
Yeah.
One of my aunts that year had bought me tickets to the All-Star game.
Ooh.
Or not the game, but the All-Star fan experience.
Yeah.
He thought I actually got into the game. No. She got me tickets to the fan experience for graduation. And I went that year to that and won tickets to Jacob's Pavilion back when it was, Jacob's Pavilion. And they were simulcasting the game on a giant Jumbotron screen, like the screen that they use for concerts and stuff.
Yeah.
They had the All-Star game playing there, and the pavilion packed with fans. And I had won 4 tickets to that. So me and my dad and my brothers went to that. And
you're getting chills over there, like, ugh, I can envision it.
Oh God,
it was so much fun.
I got goosebumps.
Those years were so much fun. But yeah, I didn't know when I was going to get to see a game next.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was honestly, it wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be because between my mom and where my brother wound up working when he was in college, there were vendors that would come in trying to get contracts, and have tickets to the clubhouse to give people, and
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I don't think the stadium's set up in the same way anymore. In fact, I know it isn't because they just unveiled that they reset some things. But back then, there was clubhouse seating where they had a restaurant you could go into, and if you had tickets, you got food at the restaurant, and then you could go and sit out in an area just off the restaurant and watch from there. Ooh. Or you can go back and forth and get more food from the restaurant.
Fancy.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
It was good food too.
I bet it was. If you won tickets, they put you where you get the good stuff. It's not like with the regular Joes.
They didn't win tickets, but they were gifted.
Well, you got the good stuff. You didn't get what the regular fans buy on the fairway.
Like, look, they weren't even necessarily as good of a tickets as my friend got to Cavs games. This is in the intermittent years between LeBron. The first Cavs game I went to, we had a loge.
Excuse me. Food. Excuse me.
But again, the company that my friend worked for, there were he was in a position where there were vendors that were trying to
Are you about to ding us?
get stuff, and
Yeah.
You're just tired of hearing about it, aren't you?
he's tired of hearing about the free food and the luxury lifestyle.
That he hasn't had a chance to live yet. But grounds crew. So
Yeah. So the grounds crew, lots of things that they have to do. First off, they are in charge of all the maintenance of the stadium.
yeah, and not just the field.
Just the field,
Okay.
the stadium. So the crew that cleans up the stadium seats
Yeah.
after the game, that's technically part of the grounds crew.
Really?
They're like a subdivision.
Okay.
So you know how we said in the equipment division there are various subdivisions? The same thing with the ground crew.
Okay. Okay.
But the grounds crew heroes that we talk about are the people that are doing the upkeep of the actual field.
Right. The ones who rake the dirt and mow the lawn and
Paint the lines and keep the bases in good standing because those bags get tore up.
I'm sure from the cleats and yeah.
So those guys, besides just making sure the grass looks good, and by the way, knowing how to cut those funny shapes into the grass, I'm sorry, it's an art. It is an art to figure out how to cut your grass into a diamond
Didn't
pattern.
you tell me your grandfather tried to show you and you're like, nope.
Yes. So it is an art to be able to do that. You have to like drop and raise the bed of the mower and things like that. So they also keep an eye on the weather.
Okay. That makes sense.
One thing that you may not know is that every team partners with a local station to be their official weather person.
And Channel 3 is actually the official weather person of
For the Guardians.
For the Guardians.
Okay.
Yeah. At one point in time, it was like Mark Johnson and another. You know, they've gone through I think all of the stations.
Yeah, I think it was
at some
Holly
point
Strano as the
official person, so she's there at the game
right,
watching the
for
radar.
the Browns.
Gotcha.
It's Channel 5 for the Browns.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they usually have like an actual person from their weather department there at the stadium watching and in contact with the National Weather Service.
Makes sense.
I
Makes
think
sense.
I think about the. I believe it's about the 5th inning. They'll place it on the scoreboard with a weather report.
Right.
Weather update.
Especially if there's any chance of bad weather.
Yeah.
Right.
They'll put it up someplace because again, 5 innings in is a real game. Anything less than 5 innings, they have to make it up.
Got it.
They
Okay.
can call a game at 5. So, you know, you've got this person watching the radar. If it comes across that it's going to get really bad, or if it started drizzling and then it starts to get really bad, or in the case of Cleveland, snowing,
Because it's Cleveland.
because those early months
Yeah.
of the year we can have that. The grounds crew springs into action and they're pulling giant tarps from like 7 different locations around the field.
Right.
They're pulling them out to cover the field so that the field doesn't get soaked, so they're not playing in mud later, so the grass doesn't get damaged.
Right.
There's somebody going around and pulling all the bases out while the rest of the crew is pulling the tarps out and all that stuff. So, and they have literally minutes, and they time them. They run drills throughout the
Do
week.
they really?
Yes.
Wow.
And they time them. And honestly, if you're there for a rain delay, they will actually put a timer as soon
On
as
the
the crew goes on.
scoreboard.
And there's a timer on the scoreboard to time how fast the grounds crew has gotten everything
The
covered.
first time I saw that, I was the intern. I asked one of the sales department guys, I said, "What's that clock up there?" Oh, that's the time the actual grounds crew for cover up the field and whatnot.
That's nuts.
I was like,
I
what?
had no idea.
Uh-huh. And my guess is that, at some point in time, there may be ground crew races.
I bet you.
Yeah.
I bet,
I bet you that there's like during the All-Star week, there's an event that we don't know about, that happens someplace close by, at some college stadium close to where the All-Star game is, that probably at the same time as the Home Run Derby shown on ESPN 345. Come on, y'all know. You all know.
Oh, shoot.
But I'm certain that there are grounds crew races.
I need to see that. That would be dope. You know what? They should have a grounds crew,
Grounds crew derby.
a grounds crew derby. So, The bat boys and the ball girls, they get to have like one. The grounds crew gets to have one. Tell me that
Like,
would be
like the shagging of the balls, and
right.
stuff, yeah.
Like who gets to drag a ball the quick? Like that would be so much fun
If
to
I
watch.
gotta ring this bill one more time, this is ludicrous. Okay.
It'd be fun to watch. I would watch that.
And you tune into ESPN 354, okay? You know you would. Look, if ESPN 4 is running the spelling bees,
Facts. I saw that the other day. I was like, "Oh, this is legit." They got an ESPN.
What, the Scripts, national Scripts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When it's on ESPN,
it's on ESPN, and ESPN is also running shuffleboard competitions. So come on,
The Ocho.
Shuffleboard.
Yeah, the Ocho.
So
the Ocho.
anyway,
Yes, the Ocho.
so anyway,
so that's all the majority of our clubhouse.
okay.
One person in everything that I'm not certain where to put, and maybe Eli would, that I just thought about is the organist and then the scoreboard guys.
Oh yeah, every baseball field has an organist.
Yeah, well, for the most part, there are a couple that are more electronic.
Trying now,
Than
Aw.
Like
live
Progressive
people.
Field is electronic.
We don't have
Yeah.
a live organist anymore.
No. And we almost don't have our
John
drum guy.
Adams,
John
yeah.
Adams, he's been really sick. He hasn't been to the games this year. They
Yeah.
have stand-in drummers for him, so he's gotten people sometimes famous to come in and
I've
do
met
stuff
John
for him.
Adams. He's a good
He's
guy.
great. He
He's a
used
good
to
guy.
actually come down to the marathon
Okay.
and beat his drum at the marathon.
Yeah,
finish.
he's
sure
good.
did.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
So, which by the way, the marathon is going on this weekend. So, anyways, but that and like I said, the scoreboard guys, because in Cleveland, the scoreboard's all electronic. Most places, the scoreboard is pretty electronic.
Yeah,
In Boston
they still have it.
and Wrigley Field in Chicago, they still have people standing behind the wall flipping out numbers.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have
And that's
to pay
where the
attention to
organ
that.
usually is too.
I have to pay. I'm writing that down. I never paid attention to that. I guess because the
Well, that's
world we
what
live in, I'm so used to digital.
The big green monster is the scoreboard.
They actually put seats on the Green Monster now.
Yeah, they've got them at the top of the wall, don't they?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do they?
Yes,
Yeah,
they do.
they've got a small section of seating at
It
the
is
top of the big
awesome.
green monster.
I would
wall.
love to go to Fenway Park.
How much are those seats?
Last time
Probably
I
a
checked,
year's worth of pay.
I think about $100 to $150.
That's
for
it.
for a regular weekday game, probably.
Yeah, I must say you ain't going to no Friday, Saturday, Sunday game.
You're not,
No.
you're not seeing the Yankees, and you're not seeing.
No, you better go see the Rays or something. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be worth it just to say you sat up there, though.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we want to thank you all for listening to us. Eli has told us that we have, hit our limit or are just about to, maybe a little over at this point. We want to thank you all for listening to us. We are working on more shows, but we need your input if you want to get us information. We are at Facebook at Wait What Sports.
Instagram at wait
underscore
what
underscore
sports. Gosh.
Twitter is WW
Sports.
Sports 2.
And our Gmail is wait what sports. No, I'm sorry.
You were right.
Yeah, I was right.
WW Sports
WW
22
Sports
at
22.
Gmail.
Yes. And that's probably the easiest way because you can put as many characters in there as you want, Twitter. But not desperately, but we do value your input. We know there are certain things that we don't always get a chance to cover in complete detail. So questions, topics that you want us to discuss in the future. We're still looking for movie suggestions of all kinds for every sport. Because I ironically just watched an indoor cycling movie when I was over at my friend Mrs. Debbie's house.
Do you know what it was called?
I don't remember because we caught it like the last 15 minutes, but it was intense. Like, I was like, this is,
Yeah, well, that velodrome racing is just kind of,
yeah,
that is intense.
it is. I was like, man, I was like, that guy's a jerk. You know how you get into movies and you're like emotionally invested? I was emotionally invested with 10 minutes left to go and I was sad I missed it all. I'll find out what it is though. But anything sports related, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We want to hear from you.